If you're somebody that's wanted to create or write a book, but maybe you're like me and you don't have the time to do it, you don't necessarily have the writing skills to be able to do it, or you're just not entirely sure where to start and actually come up with the content itself, I might have a good answer for you that's kind of a shortcut and a little bit of a cheat code, but it does work extremely well. And I know a lot of people have done this. In fact, I have done this for myself and offered it as a service to other clients as well. And we've done this for many, many clients. And basically the idea is that you're going to take a podcast, YouTube channel, training modules, whatever you create it in a video or audio format, take that and then turn it into a book. Now, I won't go into why you should create a book and that sort of thing, but what I used it for, and the reason why I did this was because I created this REI marketing book. I have a podcast called the REI Marketing Weekly, took the content from there, turned it into a book. Now, the reason I did that is because I was actually building a funnel to generate leads. So I offered this as a free plus shipping book offer. And you may see these out in the wild sometimes where somebody will offer you, this is a free book, but you got to cover shipping. Maybe it's $5 or $8 or something like that. Basically, the way that works is that it's covering their shipping costs and their printing costs. But more importantly, they don't really care about that. They're not looking to make money on the book like me. I was looking to get the information, contact information from the people that were buying the book. That was the idea of it, to add to my email list so I can market to them. So when somebody would go to my website to get my book, they would put their name, email, phone, and mailing address in. And now I have that data so I can market to them later. But more importantly, now they have a branded piece of content on their desk that has my name all over it, right? So I'm staying top of mind for that. But more importantly, obviously, I'm delivering value in this. So what happened was I took the first 37 episodes of my podcast and got it into a book format. So on this video, I'm going to show you exact steps of how I did that. Now, disclaimer, back then, this is maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I did not have ChatGPT at my disposal to be able to utilize. So a lot of the steps that I'm going to be mentioning to you, I'm going to say this is how I did it, but now we can use ChatGPT to actually shortcut that process and make it a little bit easier. So I'm going to kind of articulate that for you as well. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is select the content itself. What do you want to, where are you starting? What book are you wanting to create? Now, for me, I went a little bit more broad and just said, this is the REI marketing book. And I just took the first 37 episodes, which had multiple different topics in it, but there was kind of umbrella topics that we were talking about. So I took each episode, got them, kind of created and decided I'm going to actually segment these into chapters. So some of the chapters that I took were like marketing foundations, interruption marketing, video marketing, branding, sales, advertising, data, and those are some of the main topics that I created into chapters themselves. So each episode kind of had its different topic, but I took those topics and dropped them into one of those buckets, and those buckets became chapters. That's the idea. Now, you might be able to take it and say you focus on tax strategy. Well, you could just create a book about tax strategy. Now you select your actual episodes or your videos and say, these are the videos that I want to go into the book. That's the first step, is literally deciding what your topic of the book's going to be and what content you're actually going to use for the book. Now that you've selected that, some of the process here is a lot more, a little bit of legwork. However, it's very, very easy. And again, with the help of ChatGPT, it's going to make the process super, super easy. So the next thing you're going to do is actually transcribe all those pieces of content. So let's just use, for the example, it's a podcast, because that's what I did. You're going to take all those episodes, get them transcribed. Now, I don't have a video just yet about transcriptions, but there's many, many ways by this time that you can discover how to actually transcribe your video content. Should be very easy. If you don't know, there's a platform called Temi.com where you can actually upload those and you pay by the minute. We use Premiere Pro if you are familiar with the video editing software, because it does it for us for free. So however you transcribe the content is kind of up to you. Now, after you've done that, the next step is going to be where ChatGPT can kind of help come in, whereas I would actually send it to an actual writer. After those transcriptions are done, I'm sending all those files to a writer and having the first writer clean all the content up. Because when a transcription comes back, it's not always going to be, in fact, it's normally going to be between 80 to 90% accurate. You're going to have ums and ahs in there. You're going to have all the filler words in there. You can export those sometimes with some platforms, but you're going to have grammar issues. You're going to have, where you go into multiple circles or that sort of thing. You're going to have somebody kind of beating around the bush or just not getting to the point. So you're going to want to clean those up. Again, I would have normally sent it to an editor. Now I would just take it, send it to ChatGPT and say, please clean up this transcription to make it readable. And don't alter any of the context of it, just make it readable. And then you have ChatGPT kind of clean it up for you. After that, I would kind of read through those. I know that's going to take a little bit of, that's going to be a little time consuming, but it is worth it. Read through it, make any edits that you need to. This is where you're going to have to have a little bit of involvement. The next step of that is to actually organize all that content into your chapters, which are just going to be your categories, right? So for me, again, I had like data, I had sales. So any of the interviews that I did that talk specifically about sales, I've moved those into this bucket for this chapter, right? So anything data went into this bucket for data, that's going to be a chapter itself. So however you want to lay your chapters out, that's the next step, is organizing them that way. Okay, so the next part of this is where you're going to want to make your actual book edits. So whether you have ChatGPT help you kind of do this, or you do it yourself where you go in and make all of your own edits, or you have a writer. I personally would like to have a writer come in and be my second set of eyes with this kind of stuff, and they're going to be able to kind of critique and craft this into an actual readable book. You want it to be actionable. You want it to have a flow. You want it to have a rhythm. You want it to have a storyline, right? So this is where I might consider having a writer come in. Now, you can hire a writer on Upwork or Fiverr or whatever, but I would consider having somebody come in. This is probably going to be the only expense that you're actually realistically going to have besides the printing of the books, which is pretty cheap. After that person has cleaned it up, then you're going to want to make your own edits and make sure that you have all context of stories and everything's accurate, information that you provide is accurate, because there might be that chance that ChatGPT or the writer miscommunicated something while the whole process was going on. So just make sure you get your eyes on it, make sure everything's accurate, because the last thing you want is for that to go in the book and then somebody points it out and now starting to discredit you, right? Okay, so now that the bulk of the work is done, now we go into the final phases of actually crafting and creating the book. So now you can have somebody that's going to kind of design the foreword, the dedication, the table of contents, all of that. It's basically structuring the manuscript of the book itself. Then you're going to have somebody design the book for you. So they're going to design the layout of it, like how the chapters are going to be divided up, or the way that these, table of contents are going to look, and that sort of thing. That's kind of where you're going to have somebody come in. You could do it yourself, essentially. You could add, there's tools online, Canva, I know, had some formats so you could actually use as a template for books. In fact, I'm going to recommend to you that KDP, which is Amazon's publishing platform, they actually have templates as well that you could download. So maybe even use those. But now you're going to craft and create the book and literally put everything together. One of the last things that you're going to do with designing the book is the actual cover itself, which is normally the most graphic design heavy that it's going to be. I'm just going to recommend to you, keep it simple. Make it branded if you want to, but keep it simple. Choose the name of the book, put it on there. Put the author, a little bit of information on the back here, and then you're good to go. Don't overthink it. You can always come back and edit it later if you need it to. Okay, so now that all of the book is basically put together, the last thing I would do is send it to one more writer. Now, for me, I had 3 writers on my team that I would kind of phase these through, and I would send it to one more writer. It gets a third set of eyes on it and really makes it professional, cleaned up. And in fact, that third writer caught quite a bit of things that should have been caught in the first 2 phases. And maybe they can catch some of the things that you spit out from ChatGPT and that sort of thing. So I would have a third writer, a separate one from the previous one, go through it and actually make sure that everything looks good, everything is clean cut and makes sense. You want it to make sense and have context, because you don't want to lose the people once they start to read it, because then that ultimately will discredit you as a whole. Now you're going to have the final manuscript created. So basically it's literally just the PDF that you've already created. Just gets final edits, anything that needs to be adjusted or whatever. Now you're going to export it as a PDF and it's good to go. So now you've actually created the book. And what I did was I actually went through Amazon's KDP, which is their actual self-publishing platform. The reason why I did that is because to get proof books are really, really, really cheap. I think back then, now it's like 3 or 4 years ago, they were about $3 or $4 a piece, depending on the size of the book and what type of cover. Like I like the matte finish on the cover. You can get glossy and it's cheaper, I think, but depending on the size of the book, and it also depends on actual size of the book as well and how many pages are in it, it's going to run up cost the bigger it gets. Now, after I've received the book and I actually have it in hand, I'm looking through it, making any final edits that I need to, now I'm excited and I can start marketing the book and actually putting it out there and telling people that it's coming down the pipe. What I did was I set up a little funnel page that took any pre-orders. So set it up with Stripe. Is very easy to do. It literally just had them punch in their name, phone number, email address, shipping address. And then as soon as I was ready to launch the book on the day of launch, then those books got shipped out to everybody. and they got them. Now, what I did was, you might be asking like, well, how did you get the books? So with KDP, you can actually order author copies. Author copies are going to come basically at the cost of the printing itself, which are dirt cheap. So while you might find my book on Amazon for $15, I may have only paid $3.50 for it. So I'm ordering all those for the amount of pre-orders that I have. So I don't have like an excess amount in my basement that has like 400 copies in a box somewhere and that sort of thing, and they're just sitting there until they sell. I ordered them on demand. So as soon as they came in, I was ordering author copies by like 10 or 20 at a time. And so then shipped them out. Everybody got them. I encourage people to take pictures with them. I even put like a little bookmark in there and that sort of thing, and asked people to take pictures and tag me and that sort of thing. And it got a lot of buzz, and I got a lot of really good leads with that and a lot of good business. So that's kind of the process that I did. And it was very easy. Frankly, it really only took about 45 days for me to actually put this together and get it out. And then I spent about 30 days on the launch itself, meaning pre-orders and that sort of thing, hyping it up and getting it into the hands of people. That helped a lot. And it did a really good job. And in fact, what I kind of discovered was in the process, because I had names in this book, these were guests that were on my podcast, all these names here, I sent books, author copies to each one of those names and asked them to promote it. So now I'm tapping into their audiences, just like I tapped into their audience when I had them on the podcast itself. Now they have my book, they're promoting it to their audience because they're in the book, they're excited about it, and they're going to promote it. So honestly, that's as simple as it is. Once you get it loaded into KDP, Amazon's Kindle Direct Publishing, then it's going to walk you through all the steps that you need. You're going to have to fill in some metadata, author information, bio, stuff like that. But it's very, very simple, and they walk you through it. So honestly, that's it. If you guys want more information about how to be able to create a book, I'm more than happy to talk to you. Send me a direct message on social media. You can find me on either Facebook or Instagram. Just look for Josh Culler. I'm verified on there. And I'd be happy to hop on a call with you and talk about the process of what it looks like to actually get it done. Books are valuable. They're very good for lead generation with book funnels, and I believe in them. So without further ado, I think that's going to be it for today's episode. Hopefully you learned something, and honestly, you could do a 200-page book, you do a 500-page book, you could do a 50-page book. Just do something like that, and this is going to be something you could have in the hands of all of your leads, and they're going to be happy to promote it for you as opposed to handing them a business card. You can hand them a book. So that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure you subscribe if you haven't. See ya.